If you're over 60 and you've ever had a moment where your hand suddenly went weak, your speech went funny for a few minutes, or you couldn't find simple words, then felt fine and brushed it off, you may already have had a mini stroke. Neurologists warn these tiny episodes aren't harmless glitches. They're rehearsal strokes that often predict a major, paralyzing stroke within days or weeks. Today, you'll learn the 7 silent mini-stroke warnings women over 60 mistake for just my blood pressure or a bit of stress, and the exact plan to stop the big one before it hits.
Think about this. Everything is normal. You're making a cuppa, chatting to family, or scrolling on your phone. Then, for a few minutes, something feels very wrong. Your hand won't grip the mug properly. Your leg feels like it belongs to someone else. Your tongue feels thick. Words come out jumbled, or not at all. Maybe one eye goes blurry. You sit down, breathe, wait. 10 minutes later, you're back to normal. So you tell yourself it was just your blood pressure, a sugar dip, or you were overtired. But neurologists have a different name for these episodes. TIA, transient ischemic attack, what most people call a mini-stroke. A TIA happens when a blood clot briefly blocks a blood vessel feeding part of your brain. That patch of brain is starved of oxygen. For a short time, the body part controlled by that area, your face, arm, leg, speech, balance of vision, stops working properly. If the clot dissolves or moves on quickly, the blood flow returns and the symptoms fade. That's why people think they're fine. Yet the brain has already been injured. And the scary part is this. After a TIA, the risk of a full-blown stroke is highest in the next 48 hours and stays very high for weeks. This video will walk through the 7 most common mini-stroke warning signs in people over 60, especially women. These episodes are often mislabeled as just pressure, vertigo, pinched nerve, or panic attack. You'll learn how each looks in real life, what's happening inside your brain and blood vessels, the dangerous mistakes people make, and the practical steps you can take, from calling an ambulance straight away to reducing your stroke risk long-term with simple changes at home. Section 1. WHY. IT went away doesn't mean IT was nothing. When most people think of stroke, they picture someone with a drooping face, unable to move one side of the body, struggling to speak, rush into hospital, and left with permanent disability. That's the big stroke, when a brain artery stays blocked or bursts, and brain tissue dies. But the same process can start as a trial run. A clot forms in your heart or neck artery, travels up to the brain, gets stuck, causes sudden symptoms, then breaks up, letting blood flow again. That's a TIA. Because the symptoms disappear within minutes or an hour, people assume there's no damage. Yet brain scans show tiny injured spots after many of these attacks. Even more importantly, TIAs are red alert warnings. They tell us your blood is forming clots, your arteries are narrowed, or your heart rhythm is irregular, and the next clot may not dissolve in time. Studies show that without treatment, a worrying proportion of people who have a TIA will suffer major stroke within days to weeks. In other words, your body is giving you a second chance, but only if you listen. Section 2. The 7 mini-stroke signs women over 60 most often ignore. 1. Sudden weakness or clumsiness in one arm or leg. You reach for the kettle and your hand gives way. You try to stand up and one leg feels like jelly or like it doesn't belong to you. You might drop objects, shuffle, or drag one foot. This usually affects one side, right arm, right leg, or left arm or left leg, and lasts for a few minutes, sometimes up to an hour, then resolves. Many people blame a pinched nerve, arthritis, or slept funny on it. But a single-sided, sudden, short-lived weakness is classic for a TIA affecting the motor area of the brain. 2. Brief speech disturbance or lost words. You know exactly what you want to say, but the words won't come. Or your family says you're speaking strangely, slurred, jumbled, or using the wrong words without realizing it. You might say table instead of television or string nonsense syllables together. It can be subtle, 1 or 2 sentences that sound off, then you're back to normal a few minutes later. This is often dismissed as nerves, stress, or tongue-tied, but it's one of the most important markers of reduced blood flow to the brain's language centers. 3. One side of the face droops or goes numb, then fixes itself. You catch your reflection and notice your smile is crooked. One corner of your mouth won't lift properly, or you feel tingling, numbness, or heaviness down one cheek. You might dribble slightly or feel like you can't control one side of your lips when drinking. If this clears in a short time, people shrug and say, "It was nothing." Yet facial asymmetry, even for a few minutes, is a textbook stroke TIA sign and should never be ignored. 4. Sudden vision changes, especially in one eye suddenly goes blurry, like someone pulled a curtain across it. You might see dark patches, flashing lights, or briefly lose sight in one eye altogether. Sometimes there's double vision or feeling like the room has shifted. Eye test may later look normal because the problem wasn't in the eyeball. It was in the blood vessels feeding the eye or the visual areas of the brain. Sudden, short-lived loss of sight in one eye, particularly in someone over 60 with blood pressure or cholesterol issues, is a serious mini-stroke warning. 5. Sudden loss of balance or feeling drunk. When you're not, you stand up or turn and suddenly can't walk straight. You stagger, bump into furniture, or have to grab the wall. The room might spin or tilt. This might last a few minutes, then settle, and people blame their inner ear, a vertigo attack, or getting up too fast. While inner ear problems are common, in someone with vascular risk factors, high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, irregular heartbeat, sudden balance loss can signal reduced blood flow to the cerebellum or brainstem, areas that control coordination and posture. 6. Brief confusion or not knowing where you are. You suddenly feel disoriented, unsure which day it is, why you walked into a room, or how to complete a familiar task. You might get stuck mid-activity, staring at what you were doing. For a few minutes, your thinking feels foggy and wrong. Then you snap out of it and carry on, blaming stress, worry, or being overtired. These short bouts of confusion can reflect temporary blood flow loss to memory and orientation centers, and repeated episodes are linked with future vascular dementia as well as stroke. 7. The worst headache of your life. With sudden neuro changes, you're not a person who gets migraines. Yet out of nowhere, you feel a thunderclap headache, sharp, explosive, intense. Alongside it, you might have brief visual changes, slurred speech, weakness, or collapse. If it eases, many people self-diagnose migraine or tension headache. In older adults, particularly with high blood pressure, this type of first-ever severe headache with any neurological change is a red flag for bleeding or severe vessel spasm and must be checked urgently. Section 3. The 5 dangerous mistakes people make after a mini-stroke over 60. These episodes are often blamed on tiredness, a bad day, low sugar, or anxiety. Common and dangerous mistakes include waiting to see if it happens again instead of treating the first episode as an emergency, going to bed to sleep it off rather than seeking same-day medical help, assuming that because the scan or test were normal once, there's no ongoing risk, self-medicating with painkillers or sedatives without addressing blood pressure, heart rhythm, or arteries, believing there's no stroke in my family, so I'm probably safe. Evidence shows the stroke risk is highest in the first 24 to 72 hours after TIA. That is when rapid treatment, blood thinners, blood pressure control, sometimes procedures on neck arteries, can prevent the big stroke. Section 4. Your Emergency Action Plan, ACT-FASD, even if it goes away. Think of the FAST rule that stroke campaigns use and apply it even if symptoms last only a few minutes. F. Face. Ask the person to smile. Is one side drooping? Arm. Ask them to raise both arms. Does one drift down or not move? S. Speech. Is the speech slurred, strange, or are they unable to find words? T. Time. If you see A and Y of these, it's time to call an ambulance immediately. Your steps. Treat any sudden, one-sided weakness, facial droop, speech trouble, or vision loss as an emergency, even if it lasts only 5 to 10 minutes. Call emergency services. Do not drive yourself. Note the exact time symptoms started, Treatments are time critical. In hospital, ask clearly, could this have been a TIA? Can you check my brain and neck vessels and my heart rhythm? It's far better to have a false alarm that turns out fine than to miss the one chance you had to stop a disabling stroke. Section 5. Long-term stroke prevention plan after 60 stopping mini-strokes means fixing what sends clots or narrows brain arteries in the first place. Blood pressure. Aim for around 130/80 or below, as advised by your doctor. Reduce salt, processed foods, and takeaway. Check at home regularly and bring readings to appointments. Heart rhythm. An irregular, fluttery heart rhythm like atrial fibrillation is a major clot source. Learn to feel your pulse at your wrist. If it's persistently irregular, seek a heart check. Cholesterol and sugar. Keep cholesterol and blood glucose in recommended ranges. Follow your GP's plan. Prefer vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, olive oil, and fish over fried foods, white bread and sweets. Movement. Aim for at least 30 minutes of brisk walking or similar most days. Avoid long stretches of sitting. Stand and move for a few minutes every hour. Smoking and alcohol. If you smoke, quitting is one of the most powerful stroke prevention steps you can take. Keep alcohol within recommended low-risk limits or avoid it if your clinician advises. Sleep and sleep apnea. Loud snoring, pauses in breathing, and waking gasping can damage blood vessels and raise stroke risk. Ask about a sleep study if you or a partner have noticed these signs.